Hello, everyone. Oh my God. How is everyone? Hello. Okay, quick little announcements, and then we're going to get into a very interesting topic. And we're going to do it fast because my eye is cooperating. For those of you that don't know, I have this eye situation. I'm having surgery tomorrow. Gonna get it all fixed up. But just letting you know in case it goes out or if my face looks a little bit swollen, because it is. That's what's going on. Anyway, very interesting topic we're going to talk about today. It's kind of spicy. The energy out there in the world is a little bit spicy right now, so par for the course. And it's actually something I've been wanting to talk about for a little while. But first, for those of you, hello. For those of you that don't know, I dropped my 2025 astrology course for the first half, January to June, where I set you up with everything you need to know for the first half of the year, along with the attached PDF that has like 4 pages back to back of all of your important dates. We go through the Mercury retrograde, the Venus retrograde, which is happening at the same time, by the way. It's going to be a very interesting March and April. We go through the nodes switching to North Node Pisces. I'm so excited. I actually have a previous live about that. I think it's the one before this one. Anyhow, basically, if there is something you need to know about the astrology for the first half of the year, it is in there. And it's available on my website now to purchase, or you can become a monthly member and get it for free. All of my courses are free if you're a monthly member. So yes, that is up there. Also, final announcement. If you have been wanting to book a one-on-one session with me, I am taking bookings. I still have some slots left for January. So if you're looking for like a New Year's reading for yourself, you can reach out to me there as well. Hi, guys. Wow. Okay. So what are we feeling right now? It is a bit of an intense day out there, and some of you might have noticed. Well, not even just today. Yesterday was actually very intense as well because the moon was transiting in Aquarius and it made conjunction with Pluto yesterday, and Pluto is back in a very extreme opposition with Mars. So if you've been feeling some emotional intensity in the last like 48 hours or so, it's that Mars opposite Pluto. Yeah, yesterday was weird. Absolutely was. And this is actually the second pass of this energy. So we had this happen recently, but this is the second pass, and it's going to get a bit more intense in the coming week because Mars is going to go back into Cancer, where it's very emotional, it feels a lot, and it's going to be in opposition to Pluto in that very kind of volatile combination. So, Mars opposite Pluto, this is significant for a few different reasons. Number one, Mars is still, not for much longer, but is still the ruler of the North Node. So, the North Node is our future, right? It's destiny. And with Mars as the ruler of the North Node being opposed by Pluto, that means that destiny compass point is still going through these very intense changes for every single person. So it can be a little bit frustrating because Mars wants to move forward, right? And Mars is retrograde. So we're all sort of being told to wait until end of February around certain things. And then on top of that, Pluto is here putting us through these deep scorpionic changes where our path may change altogether due to Plutonian things, right? Death, rebirth, or having to let go of something, having to say goodbye to something, having something symbolically die. And this may be unexpected. And that's why it's so important to follow these transits because, you know, if back in October when Mars went into pre-shadow, you had your sights set on something for the new year, this is why we tell you to kind of, hold off on being sure about that, because this Mars retrograde is really packing a punch. It also happened at the same time as a Mercury retrograde. Like, there's just a lot changing on us. But so we have Mars as the ruler of the North Node going through that change. Mercury is done with pre-shadow, so that's awesome. But I wanted to talk about a little bit of a darker topic, but I think it's an interesting topic. And I think it's perfect to talk about while Mars is opposite Pluto, because one of the things that this aspect can bring up, and I don't overemphasize it, because it's not in every scenario and it's not in every case. It's not for sure that this would happen. But Mars opposite Pluto can bring out kind of a scorpionic, manipulative type of energy, because Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. Mars is actually traditionally co-ruling with Scorpio. And that opposition can bring out that shadow side, that where there's like these masked motivations, these deeper psychological motivations that are sort of running or snaking their way in the background. And this is all like energetic warfare. It's often subconscious, even to the people that are participating. And I want to make that very clear, because Scorpio is talked about in this light often, and Scorpio is often not aware that they are manipulative. Scorpio's deepest core wound is abandonment and betrayal. So when there are these energetic games or chess moves being played, it's usually coming from a place of survival, trying not to be wounded again. So these are deep programs that are happening, right? And it all really comes down to wanting to avoid pain, wanting to avoid being hurt, um, fear, lack of trust. That's another big one. Difficulty trusting others, and that's where we can see this part of Scorpio coming out. But it also brings up the power dynamics that can extend from those types of relationships, dynamics, and core wounds, right? And we see this happening everywhere. Power dynamics are happening all over the place. And it has to do with our human design, and it has to do with all sorts of things within our chart, where you have people that are in more of an alpha position within the relationship. You have student teacher. You have kind of like sadomasochist relationship, where there's a person that's literally putting themselves in a position to be abused or taken advantage of, and there's karma, happening throughout all relationships, and that's normal. It's we can't really get away from that, right? But because there's alchemy between souls, and so much of this is past life related as well. So people meet again, they see each other again, they fall into some dynamic where they're going to be teaching each other these karmic lessons, and that's understandable. But one thing that is talked about a lot in the psychology world is this phenomena of the narcissist. And for the first time ever, I want to directly talk about narcissistic dynamics, narcissistic individuals. Hello. And what I think about it from an astrological perspective, because it's a big topic. It's a big topic out there in the world. And this kind of came on the scene like within the last, like, I don't know, like the last 5 years. I feel like it's gotten very even over talked about. So I don't want to add to that noise, and I'm not here to define what a narcissist is. If you are interested in all of that, or you don't know what that is, there are so many. Just type it in on YouTube and you're going to get just like pages upon pages, because it is a real thing. It can be incredibly dangerous. And I'm not saying that it's not, but I want to talk about it from an evolutionary astrology perspective, And also, maybe even more importantly, talk about the polarity of narcissism and how it kind of relates to the North Node in Pisces, which is just something I've been thinking about over the last week or so. So, first of all, from an evolutionary astrology perspective, what is really damaging and terrifying about a narcissistic individual is that one of the things that defines a narcissist is failure to take responsibility. And anyone who's ever dealt with a narcissistic individual or had this theme come up in a relationship will know that this is one, hi Bernadette, that this is one of the defining hallmark characteristics of a narcissistic person is that they literally cannot take responsibility and never do. They are always projecting that it is everyone else's fault but their own. And that is one of the key defining characteristics. And there are key defining characteristics for a narcissist. Not everyone that displays narcissistic traits is a full-blown narcissist, but for our conversation today, that's the main one that I'm focused on, and it is a big one. It's what defines them as being different. And this difference is like a glitch that really intensely negatively impacts the surrounding environment, surrounding relationships. It's like a cancer. It literally just bleeds into everything. And I've been thinking about it recently because if we think about this from an evolutionary astrology context, which is how I think about everything, because that's the lens through which I see the world, it makes sense why this is so dangerous because we are all here having a human experience to evolve. And the only way that we can do that is through learning lessons. And we come here to learn lessons, go through challenges. And if we're not taking responsibility, um, we're not learning at all. And we've basically, like, on a soul level, sort of ejected ourselves out of a collective, unified process, which is evolution. So when I thought about it from that context, I was like, wow, like that makes sense why it would be so volatile for a single soul to decide, you know what? Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to make it everyone else's problem and not my own. It's actually fundamentally Luciferian if you think about it, because if we take like the symbol of the story of Lucifer, as I recall, it is the story of one of the angels that basically decided, I don't want to work for God helping humanity or whatever. I want to create my own kingdom, my own rules. Like, why am I listening to this person? I'm just going to go do my own thing. And like symbolically separated from source to go on its own self-serving journey. So the story of Lucifer is really interesting because it represents, to me, I've always thought of it as an aspect of self that has decided to be self-serving rather than in service. And if you meditate on that and you notice the things in life that follow that track, they never lead to a good place, ever. And so that is basically a narcissistic individual, right? Is a person that has decided, like Lucifer, that they are the center of the universe and the rules do not apply to them. So this can actually go really far in a terrifying direction. And that's when you're getting into the realms of like sociopaths and all that. It's rarely that deep, can be. Or you just have like the whole spectrum of people that can kind of fall within that. And even those of us that are not narcissists can have blind spots and moments in our development where we are resisting taking responsibility and thus paying the price in some way, whether we are aware of it or not, because we're actually failing to evolve. And thus, the universe must teach us harder lessons to eventually have us acquiesce and surrender, which is inevitable, whether it's in this lifetime or not. Like it will happen, right? That's the whole reason we're here. Um, so that was leading to this whole train of thought where I was just thinking about to take it even like darker and deeper is like the power that a single human being has when they decide to make a dark contract like that. A single human that has made a dark contract can invoke fear in millions of people. Like one example that I think about sometimes because he was at large when I was in the womb is the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez. I believe that was like summer of 87 or 86. I just know that it was like when I was like in the womb, which I've always thought was interesting with all my Scorpio. I think it's interesting to think about what was going on when people were like developing in the womb because that's like their 12th house. Anyway, different story for a different time. Richard Ramirez, he invoked fear in all of Los Angeles. Like from the stories I've heard, people were afraid to sleep with their windows open like that summer. And it was like an unusually hot summer for Los Angeles. And like no one would sleep with their windows open. People were literally terrified because this serial killer who had like no type, like that was kind of one of the things that made him so scary, was that he like didn't favor a certain type of person. He like young, old, male, female, like so it was like you never really knew, you know, who he was going to pick next. That's like one human, and he's a gnarly looking guy. If you've ever looked up Richard Ramirez, it's actually fascinating to watch his interviews. Like his like teeth were rotting out, and like his victims said that like the ones that survived said that you could like smell him coming. Like he was a straight demon, you guys. Like this guy, full dark contract. If you watch his interviews, it's crazy. He has a trippy chart too. I think he has Mars and Scorpio square. I want to look it up actually. I haven't looked it up in a long time. Anyways, okay, so that's a good example of one human being. That's one human that could invoke fear. Richard Ramirez astrology chart. Night Stalker. Here it is. He was born on February 28th, 1960. Oh, that's right. Okay. Mars conjunct Venus in Aquarius opposite Uranus. So that's why he was like oddly a sex symbol at the same time. He's like a very beautiful, like beautiful bone structure, and like women were like sending him their like panties while he was in prison and shit like that. Like totally weird. That's why that Mars Venus opposition to Uranus. Wow. Anyway, so we have that type of human. And so the whole purpose really of this live by talking about this kind of evil contract, which is narcissists, which is why they're talked about as much as they are, and why people that have been involved with them, especially within relationship, can have their lives just like totally destroyed by this single individual. It has a lot to do with failure to take responsibility, but then there's also the empathy piece, right? That's another one of the hallmarkers of a narcissist is that they lack human empathy. And if you think about it, empathy is what makes us human. You know what I mean? Like compassion and the ability to feel is our ability to feel love and connect. So this is why people are so obsessed with narcissists, I think, and why it's talked about. And yes, the term is overused. It absolutely is, because I think it's a very confusing term that's used because you can have narcissistic traits within a person and not be the thing that I'm talking about. But this is why it's important to understand the clinical term correctly. But that's not what this video is about. So what I've been thinking about is the polarity to that, which is like, because astrology is the language of polarity. So it's interestingly, these darker contracts, these darker subjects and darker energies are actually the roadmap to ascension, because all we have to do is think of what the opposite to that is. And so this gets into like demons and angels, right? Like they're like two sides of the same coin. They're polarity, the black wings and the horns, and the white wings and the halo. It's like it's completely the shift, right? So if we want to be the opposite of evil and we want to be an angel, we must take full responsibility at every possible marker in the trail. That's how we become an angelic human, is, not masochistically so, not taking responsibility for things that are not ours, of course, but taking responsibility and playing a active role in our evolution is how we become an earth angel, or a being that is empathically and compassionately showing up for the evolutionary story of life. This is the superpower. 100% is just taking responsibility for your role in every dynamic, because you will always play one. Always. It's just, it's like the two of cups. It's just like we're in this, we're doing an alchemical process. There is a part that you play. And so I wanted to kind of send this into the space at the dawn of a new year, with the North Node in Pisces, where it's limitless expansion, particularly of the heart space. Oh my gosh. And we're talking a lot about that over on my membership. We're doing mystery school meetings. We're actually having one tonight. They're so fun. We vibe out like this, but more like in a community, like other people are talking. It's not just me talking. But in this new year, with this in mind, I think that going forth with the desire to take as much responsibility as possible so that you can see yourself the clearest, and also break any unnecessary chains around victimization, which is also it's how we take our power back, is when we take responsibility, because it is the part that we can actually control. And sometimes that can feel that can be a very small part of what's going on. We can feel almost powerless, but by taking responsibility for what's ours, we can take that back. And then the other polarity to the narcissist discussion, when we have talked about the fact that they lack empathy, well, the polarity would be as much empathy and compassion as possible. That is your key. That is I talk a lot on my Instagram, is like, I work with Kuan Yin a lot. I work with her in the sense that I invoke her when I'm having difficulty having compassion for an individual in my life or a situation. Is I think about her, I think about her story, I think about what she's about, and I just lean into that energy, and it always sets me free every single time. So yeah, I'm mentioning all of this as well because the South Node is going into Virgo. There's going to be a collective journey around health. Oh, wow. Cool. Hi. Morning. That's rad. Because the South Node is going to go into Virgo, we're going to have a collective theme around health come up, and Virgo rules the gut. Great time to do a gut cleanse protocol, which is a very spiritual mission. Oh my God. In fact, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Paul Foster case. Might have been Paul Foster case, who in the ancient alchemical teachings, he literally held up a jar of excrement and said it was the answer to everything, the answer to the philosopher's stone, like enlightenment, but that most people were so disgusted that they turned away without getting the lesson. And if you go deep enough in the alchemical texts, the gut, Virgo, it is the literal core of everything, and it is the root cause of all disease. And so I'm on this crazy, crazy gut journey. I'm going into month 3. We're talking, candida, we're talking parasites, we're talking coffee enemas, we're talking like full gut rebuilding protocol that I'm on. I'm working with Jen Donovan of Whole Body Healing with Jen. Um, I've talked about that already, but what I want to add to what I've already said about it all is that it's a freaking spiritual process, cleaning out your insides and like working with moving the heat in the liver, which is all the anger, and then the parasite, which we all have, by the way. If you're not aware that everybody has parasites, like, gotta catch up, because I know people have this like knee jerk, like, ugh, reaction, but like, get used to it. We're all human. Like, it's part of it. And actually, parasites are healthy. Like, we are supposed to have them. They just get out of balance when certain balances within us get out of balance. They can kind of like set up shop. And so, um, the interesting thing about parasitic overgrowths, which are literally rampant in our society, is hello, is MJ Daigle. I'm going to say something about that in 2 seconds. They connect to low frequency human emotions. Parasites do. They are the 3D representation of our negative, low frequency emotions. So when you go on a parasite journey, you are choosing to face these low frequency human emotions. It's so crazy because not only does that start to happen, but you start to literally look around and feel like everybody is just being run by parasites, which is terrifying. But with regards to what this person is asking or saying, they're saying, I've been researching all day trying to find the best parasite detox. I want to share something about this that I think is very helpful. And okay, so I've been on the gut health journey for a long time. I ended up getting mast cell activation syndrome in the last 2 years. Horrible. You don't want that. But prior to that, it was a slow decline of health issues that I had had basically since I was 14, when I was given round after round after round of antibiotics. And I have been I've known that my gut has been off for a very long time, but I just didn't have the right protocol. And granted, I'm not done. I'm just sharing what my journey is in hopes that it can help other people. I'm not saying that I have all the answers. But I'm doing Jen's protocol because so far it's been the most comprehensive that I have seen. And there's a couple things that set her apart that I'm going to talk about in a second. But I did it all, you guys. I've done candida cleanses, parasite cleanses, all the stuff. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I'm so, if anything good could come of my mistakes, and if that helps other people not make them, then it will not have been in vain. One of the main things that I did was I did way too many detoxes when my detox pathways were not open. And I'm realizing that that is in some cases why I got very sick. Um, you really gotta be careful because everybody is crazy about these detoxes out there, and it is important, but like, here's the thing about Jen that I love so much. It's so funny. I'm not affiliated with her, but I do rep her a lot. I don't even know if she knows, but I one of the things I love about her is she's actually very gentle. She's all about like supporting your body to do what it does naturally rather than forcing and taking all these freaking killing herbs and stuff, which is the route I went before. She's like, not, I'm not quoting her, but her message is like, your body has all the equipment, let's get it working right. So like opening the detox pathways is super important, and rather than killing parasites, which is not, as far as I'm aware, a part of her protocol that I've heard at all, it's about basically, and I love this because it connects to the spiritual side of things, is setting up an environment where parasites just don't want to be, and they will just actually leave. Um, that means resetting your gut, which I'm not going to go through her protocol because you can look into that if you want to. Highly suggest working with her though. Incredible experience so far, but it is slower. It's way slower. This is a huge fucking commitment that I low key might be on the whole time the South Node is in Virgo. Like, just to be honest, like, not the first phase, which is really intense, but like this is a journey. This took a long time to get out of whack. And it's not, like I was sick, y'all. Like when I was in Seattle, I was fucking sick. I thought I was dying from something. Seriously, it was fucking fucked. But anyways, it's about creating an environment that the parasites don't want to be in, which means a healthy microbiome and getting the bile flowing correctly and the stomach acid right and everything. And then, like, parasites don't want to be there. They're just going to start fucking jumping ship, and you're going to see them come out, and you didn't take anything. And you didn't put your body through the stress of those herbs and the detox and all the stuff. And then the heavy metals are a component of that as well. Don't quote me on this, but as I understand it, heavy metals are matching like a lock and key, a mineral deficiency within the body, which I think is so fascinating. I can't remember the combinations, but it's like a zinc deficiency has the link to a certain heavy metal, and a copper and this and that. So heavy metals affect people that have mineral deficiencies, which are often an extension of malabsorption, which is coming from the gut dysbiosis. So yes, rather than stripping the heavy metals out, it's about replenishing and nourishing with the appropriate minerals, which we can get from food, right? So to me, when I heard that, because it's very alchemical, and she's a total alchemist, like she's a genius. It's the same. And it's like, so if you are not ready to go on this crazy health journey, maybe necessarily, because it is a huge freaking commitment and you got to like sign up for that, you can start a parasite cleanse by removing negative low frequency emotions from your interstellar, like, inner vocabulary, you know what I mean? Which, like, we're human. Obviously, we're always going to have them, but we can become overrun or infested with them, right? And that we do have control over, and we can take responsibility for. And if we start to weed out those low frequency human emotion, exactly, Jody. If we weed those out, naturally, spiritually, and synchronistically, we will start to see the parasitic energies in our life expel, including physical, like, telling you. Yes, I've had heaps of operations. That is another huge part of it, man, for sure. I think that's gonna be it for today. Covered a lot of ground really quickly. Having surgery, so I don't know when I'll be back on here. I wanted to do a awesome, good for you. You just want to make sure just sharing about the candida cleanses, because I've done many and they do work, is that you just want to address root cause, or it's likely to regrow down the road. Because we Lady Virgo again, that's funny. Because we usually have candida overgrowth for a reason. Like, yes, if you're eating shit tons of sugar, that can cause it. But ultimately, going back to what I said before, if our internal systems are in balance, they take care of candida. Like, we can eat sugar. It's like not advised, and I wouldn't do it all the time. But like, if you want to have a sweet treat, like if your gut is in balance, it's not going to throw you off because you have all the stomach acids and stuff that take care of that. So if you had a candida overgrowth, there's usually, in my experience and research, a reason why. But it's a very complex system, and uh you have to kind of figure it out. Sometimes you have to do testing, or there's ways you can kind of observe, like, what's your stomach acid like. That's usually where you start. Like, sometimes in this process you want to start from the top and go down. So like, saliva, are you chewing your food? Chewing the food creates the enzymes that we need to break down our food. It sends signals to the whole body. So chewing is super important, and making sure that we're not in a state of fight or flight while we're eating. Like, we're not standing up eating fast, because our body is not in a place to digest in that place. It's in a place to fight or flight. So chewing, and then like stomach acids, like, are you burping? Burping is a sign of stomach acid being off. Um, then you go down to the liver, the gallbladder. How are you processing fats? Do you have discomfort under here? And then you go into like bloating, and then obviously, like, what does the stool look like, and like, is it like maldigested? Is it digesting? It's like such a it's such a complex system. It's not as simple as like, oh, you have IBS. It's like, well, what the fuck is going on? There's like a million things that it could. So dude, you guys, the eating thing, how you eat is so important. Like, that is part of Jen's protocol. She's on it. She's freaking on it. She's on this whole thing of like being mindful about, I'm trying to be mindful about like what I'm thinking about while I'm eating, like, I swear, I think that's another thing with the parasites is like, notice what you're thinking about what you're eating. You know what I mean? And when you do a parasite cleanse, it's very interesting. Certain individuals will start to leave your life. I'm having surgery. It's okay. They call it a surgery. I want to rename it a procedure, because surgery sounds like they're literally like like going inside my eyeball. Like, they're not. They are polishing the superficial layer of my eye, because I have a scratch that healed like rough, and it is not allowing it to heal. Um I think that's good. Thanks for joining me here today, you guys, for my rant on narcissists that I've wanted to do for a really long time. I have a Scorpio stellium, so in my seventh house. Um, oh, MJ, Daigle, and anyone else who wants to come tonight for the mystery school meeting, it is members only. The link to the membership is in the weekly videos, in that weekly feed. I also sent out a mass email about an hour or two ago. Make sure that you are getting my emails. Sometimes they go to spam. And if you still have trouble finding the link, just email me before 5 o'clock. It's at 5 o'clock tonight, you guys. So yeah, I have a Scorpio stellium in the seventh house. So my Venus in Scorpio conjunct Pluto, for those that know, in evolutionary astrology, that is like hallmarker for learning lots of lessons around power dynamics and relationships. So I have a lot of experience with the narcissist empath dynamic. I understand it deeply, and that's why I was thinking about it recently. I was like, what is this? Like, this is like so deep, this whole thing, because it's talked about a lot, and I just wanted to kind of talk about it from a good for you. Oh yeah, Lady Virgo, I remember that. yeah, it destroys a lot. And yeah, so we can learn from them though. We can use their dark lessons to elevate into the light and become angels together. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. And yeah, Happy New Year. Bye for now.